If people are dieting now more than ever before, then why are nearly 1 in 3 American adults overweight? Dr. Gundry, who's helped thousands lose weight and feel younger and healthier than ever, says most people are not getting enough fat-burning MCTs from their food. MCTs are a special kind of compound that instead of turning into fat when you consume it, turns into ketones, which is a chemical that breaks down the excess fat in your body. So, by getting more MCTs in your diet, you essentially flip a switch that puts your body in caloric bypass mode, which can flush out excess fat and calories. And he's created an easy way for you to activate caloric bypass right at home. It's called MCT Wellness. This powerful blend of fat-flushing MCT powders and antioxidant-rich polyphenols is designed to help you unlock your body's fat-burning, energy-producing potential. What's even better is that it's a delicious drink. I love how incredible it tastes. All you do is add a scoop to water, enjoy, and watch as you start feeling slimmer and more energized. So, if you want to experience a quick, easy, and effective way to melt pounds fast, go to GundryMD.com/energy and order right now to get up to 53% off your regular price order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's GUNDRYMD.com/energy.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company. Home delivery available in Regina at sassbeerdelivery.ca. Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only Ask John Anything podcast.
Yes!
I'm Joel Gasson with John Fraser as usual, and yes, as is a sort of bye-week tradition, or I guess twice a year, even though teams have multiple bye weeks now, 3 of them in total. We tend to do Ask John Anything after a bye week. Last bye week we just didn't do anything, and
I mean, we were both busy. We had a lot going, and like 2 feels perfect because we usually get one like early season and one late season. 3 feels like it might be a bit much, and I feel like Dave can only ask so many questions so many times.
Fair enough, yeah. And because if you're a Rider fan listening to this podcast, you are very well aware that the season is very, very quickly now going down the tank. I mean, it's kind of been a slow-moving train wreck where the once assured crossover spot now looks very much like it's not going to happen, barring something crazy happening in the last couple of weeks, which, hey, in football it has happened before. We have seen the scenario where, Team X needs to win both their games and, 12 other teams need to lose and this one team needs to win and another game needs to end in a tie for someone to get in, and we've seen it happen before in football. So
happened to the NFL last year.
Yeah, and then unfortunately we all had to watch my Steelers for another week.
Hey, they pulled off. There was a lot of angry people at the Hilltops game today because of that result. Actually, Well, they won because I just watched Red Zone all day. I didn't even bother watching them. That also reminds me that I have to remind the Luke Saretsky, skip of our curling team, that his Green Bay Packers lost to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to text him that right now.
The Jets might actually be kind of good.
Hey, they got that Wilson big dog energy,
Wilson,
right?
You know it. Yeah, and not to turn this into an NFL podcast, but it is sort of a weird world we're looking at where both New York teams might actually be pretty good.
Right? This is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But these are the things we can discuss in a bye week with Ask John Anything, with the proverbial 18-wheeler reaching towards the cliff. Not quite over the cliff yet,
no,
but it is on fire, no brakes, heading towards said cliff.
Absolutely. So yeah, lots to not get to this week, quite frankly, because we've talked about it a bunch, but we have to get to a certain other point. It is always mentioned on this podcast whenever the Alabama Crimson Tide lose a football game.
Yes.
And this week was, of course, one of the, maybe at most 2 times a year it happens, outside of the national championship game. And this was, of course, finally the week to celebrate that the Alabama Crimson Tide lost. And not only did they lose, they lost to the Tennessee Volunteers for the first time in, I believe, 15 years. And they did so after, finally, Alabama kicking has returned.
Yes.
Traditional Alabama kicking, I should say. They had too good of a kicking game for the last few years, which has been very unsettling for everyone in the college football world. Because it always been their one sort of flaw was okay, we know their kicker isn't automatic. And normally it doesn't matter because they're up 72-4.
Right. It's basically, so that's the thing. If you're a kicker, you don't want to go there because you're never really kicking in a big moment. You're just kind of there.
Until you are, like you were against the Tennessee Volunteers with a chance to take the lead, and you miss the kick, and then Tennessee comes back with, I believe, about 30 seconds left, and with one of the ugliest ducks of a kick you will ever see, it managed to clear the uprights and send the Tennessee Volunteer fans onto the stadium and out the door with the goalposts. And it was lovely.
Goalposts literally going through Knoxville on a tour and then into the river. It was the best way I could describe that kick is it looked like a knuckleball, and before
it didn't even hit any. You would think, oh, maybe that was tipped. No, it just kind of sailed sideways and weird.
The best thing, I was at Tykes on Spikes. Connor was playing this morning, and I was talking to my buddy Brian, and Brian was telling me he was talking to one of his high school kids, and they said it's he managed to hit the ball exactly in the middle, but in a way that it still lifted up in the air and just kind of drifted betwixt the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a perfect kick, but
it's he punted it, but held the ball lengthwise, and it just kind of went like that.
But I do have to admit, this is not a parent. Well, actually, you could use this as a parenting advice podcast now, Joel.
Mm-hmm.
For this morning, first time I've seen my buddy Brian. He's the head of Saskatoon Minor football. He's got 2 twin girls in the same football group as Connor, and they're in this program called Tykes on Spikes. So long story short, Tykes on Spikes is different 7-minute drills like kicking, passing, catching, running, climbing. It's a lot of fun for kids just getting into football. So as I'm talking to Brian, we are talking about how awful that kick was, and we're having a laugh, and we're comparing it to R.A. Dickey. I completely forgot that the kids were at the kicking station, and within earshot is Connor shooting me the angriest, most confused glare I've ever seen out of his tiny 3-year-old face.
Yeah, thinking you just went hockey parent on him.
Oh, 100%, because I 1,000,000% said that was the worst fucking kick I've ever seen in my life. Verbatim. That's exactly what I said. And then we laughed. So me and Brian's a big dude, used to play in the CFL. We're boisterous laugh kind of guys, and we quickly realized, we both had our spidey sense, our dad sense. We're no, Connor, we're talking about a football game. We're not talking about you. And he went, oh, okay. And so the rest of the day went on as it should. And then we're in my car on the way home, and he looks at me, he goes, Daddy, were you laughing at me? I'm like, no, buddy, we were laughing at this kick, and it wasn't you, it was in a college game. I had to pull out the tweet that you sent me with this kick. I'm like, look how funny that ball is. Again, explaining this to my 3-year-old,
mm-hmm.
who he just thought, yes, I went full hockey parent on. So, lesson learned,
yes.
Fellow parents. If you are ever talking about a spectacularly shitty play and something you watch on TV, make sure your kid's not doing that exact thing within earshot, or you're going to feel real bad.
Yeah. And I mean, anyone who knows your kids, especially your boys, they tend to get a little sensitive about being laughed at. So
yes, very much so.
But I think in this case, it was actually kind of warranted that I could see how he would have thought that. So yeah, if you're talking about sports, make sure you're not talking about sports in a bad light. Just make sure you're not talking about what exactly your kid is doing. Yeah.
Literally, he just finished a kick and went back, and they all put it back on their own tees and everything, and he had just finished it. And actually, I'll give him, he nuked it. That last kick, his tiny little, Fraser-sized legs definitely got behind that one. So, yep, thankfully he understood, he forgave me. I still feel like an asshole tonight.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, luckily he has a hero in Sergio Castillo to look up to. So
he certainly does. He has twice asked me if he looked like Sergio the last 2 weeks at Takes on Spikes. When he does kicking, he says,
yeah.
Do I look like Sergio? Because I say kick it, to encourage him. I said, yeah, kick it like Sergio, buddy. He can even name I turned on the Elks game last night before the kids went to bed, and both the boys went, Elks? That's Sergio's team. So I am doing something right.
Absolutely, and Sergio made all his kicks, unlike maybe the kicker of his former team.
Don't, because I know that's how they're gonna lose the Grey Cup to Montreal. On a shitty Mark Leggio kick, but that's I digress. I guess
we're not here to actually talk serious football today.
No!
Not that we ever really are. So yeah, as the Riders season kind of goes down into a tank, we're going to get into Ask John Anything coming up. But as usual, especially on this very special edition of the 3 Down Greencast, John, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, what is in the glass this week?
As tradition dictates with the Ask John Anything, I'm going a little harder than I normally do. And double fisting. In one glass, I have about 4 shots of provincial vodka, mixed with some citrus and water and ice. And again, I might be addicted to these Lucky Bastard Saskatoon Berry iced tea. So I actually, and this is, if anybody for provincial Lucky Bastard happens to listen, this is your chance to win my heart over. Because I even commented on Lucky Bastard's post saying, hey, my wife and I call them Stooners. It's fun. By the way, sponsor my podcast. And they said, love it. So I feel like I need to reply again and be like, no, but seriously, give me booze and I will talk about you on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We have at least Dave listening.
Yes. Always
and
at
Jock.
least Dave and Jock listening, for sure. Yes.
So, yes, as per tradition, double fisting it early, a very strong vodka, and a delicious vodka cocktail from Lucky Bastard.
For me, I have the Nokomis Craft Ales Classic IPA, formerly known as just the Nokomis India Pale Ale. That's because they have a few different IPAs in their arsenal now, so this is the kind of their classic one. Straightforward. You know what it tastes like. It's kind of more English style, but a little bitter as well. So just the right thing, I guess, for an evening like this.
Yeah, kind of becoming fall. You want something with that little bit of bitterness to it, and that tastes good in your mouth face.
So yeah, not much to say about the Riders at this point. They obviously didn't play, and they got pretty much no help from anybody.
No.
And barring, I think they have to sweep Calgary and get some help, essentially, probably to get in, or at least win one against Calgary and get some help to get in. Because at this point, Hamilton still controls their destiny if they sweep out Ottawa, though that doesn't seem as likely now as it did a couple of weeks ago. Regardless, for the Riders, I guess good luck at this point is really all we can say.
Now, okay, by my math, if Hamilton wins this week and the Riders lose, it's mercifully over, right? Right? Because then Hamilton would be at 7, and the most the Riders could get is 7, and you can't tie and cross over.
I would guess so, yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at the scenarios that closely just because I know it's gonna take something ridiculous for it to actually happen. So
and somebody's gonna tie and make the math not so simple. So basically, as I said in the preamble, I believe at this point this is like on Family Guy when they go to the weatherman, Ollie Williams. This take's pretty simple. They fucking suck. Yeah. That's it. And they're in trouble.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to get into this now. Another edition of course, Ask John Anything.
Let's go.
And we are going to start off with a football-related one, just for the heck of it.
All right.
This comes from T-Bone Coco.
Ooh, okay. That's
this
a
one
great
just
name,
came in
too.
not too long ago. In your opinion, does, I believe, Jason Shivers is probably who he means, have what it takes to be a successful CFL head coach?
Successful. I like that, Joel.
Successful. Head coach. Lapo as OC. Danny Mack as GM. Me as president, and maybe Shivers as an opinion on who should replace him as DC.
I think he does. I mean, if you look at his track record, which we discussed on this podcast earlier this season, he's been around a long time and not been given the chance to take over a team. Really, it's the only bright spot on this team. has been the defense that I feel like is now getting a little worn down. People have seen too much tape of it. I do think he has what it takes to be a successful head coach. That defense has been good for a lot of times. There's been a lot of turbulence on the offense, and the team hasn't gone full revolt. I like LaPolice back as an OC, and this pains me as a Bomber fan, but Danny Mac as GM would solve almost all their problems right now. Yeah. They've got really good Canadian depth. Like Jeremy O'Day, to his credit, and his team has done a spectacular job of building that Canadian depth. They've got lots of pieces, at skill positions on the offensive line, but they don't find Dalton Schoen. They don't find, U.S.-born players that step in and contribute immediately, and that has basically been Danny Mac's bread and butter in Winnipeg. So, I think it, and T-Bone Coco, yes, as long as you offer me the free tickets that Craig Reynolds has offered me, I will endorse you as president, despite the fact I am still very much a big Craig Reynolds fan.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, Jason Shivers is a guy who is going to be head coach in this league at some point. I would think he maybe needs a couple more years as a DC before I would be willing to go all in on that, but I wouldn't necessarily be against it either. If the scenario comes up this year where for whatever reason, whether through his choice or not, Craig Dickinson is no longer the head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders next year, then yeah, I would say that there's a scenario where I'd definitely consider Jason Shivers. I'd have to see what else is out there and what else the other options are, but it's certainly not one that I would say they shouldn't hire, but I'm not really sure if he's quite there yet, but definitely willing to be proven wrong.
Well, and the crazy thing is again, I can't believe this guy's been in the league since 2013.
Yeah.
Right. Played in Canada, played with the Argos, played with the Ticats. I think he definitely has what it takes. Maybe needs some more seasoning, but that's why I'd love to see. And I'm assuming Bob Dice gets the job in Ottawa. But if you could,
it feels like they're leaning that way. But I mean, I guess we'll see.
But if something crazy happens, if you could find a way to bring in Shivers with a Bob Dice on that staff, a guy that has been around the league forever. I would say Lapo, but Lapo has spectacularly failed each and every time as a head coach. But
I can't see him being a head coach in this league again anytime soon.
No, I don't think it's ever going to happen. And I think Lapo almost has to recognize that he has shortcomings as a head coach, but he's a great offensive coordinator and can make a lot of money that way. So if they can go out and get kind of the old hockey thing, like an associate coach that they seem to be doing more and more these days, I think if they can do that to pair Shivers with somebody, that'd be the best bet going forward. And that might be the beauty of them missing the playoffs is you're going to see some new faces, some new bodies, and some new, voices in that room.
Mm-hmm.
He also got a 14 on the Wonderlic, by the way. It's on his Wikipedia.
Right on.
Now you've learned something.
Absolutely.
I can't believe the guy hasn't played in he got drafted in 2004, and Wikipedia has his pre-draft measurables up on their page still.
That's Wikipedia for you.
That's somebody out there.
The really website that they told us in high school and university was not credible.
Right? Nope, it is perfect. And now we know that Jason Shivers got a 14 on the Wonderlic. Is that good?
I honestly don't know.
Well,
you will have to ask John Hodge.
I will. Okay, Wonderlic top score. Oh wow. The Wonderlic scored out of 50.
Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? He's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And it's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra-potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mix with water, stir, and enjoy. Unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of 5-star reviews. Go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 for up to 44% off your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just an overall healthier body, Then go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results can vary.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, gonna leave that.
All right, so from Dave, of course, the Dave. Rate my conspiracy theory from no way, Dave, you idiot, to 10. I think you're right, Dave, you idiot. The D is mad about Marino's release. They have been playing poorly on purpose as a protest. Part of this is Lanier faking it. That, of course, he's been injury. He says that whole thing stinks to me.
I'm going to go with a 5. I don't know if they're doing it specifically because Marino is gone, but I think Marino, despite being batshit crazy, was a better football player than we all kind of thought, and that's hurting the D. And I do think there are guys in the room that liked him, and that seems to have deflated the D a bit. Dave is right in that assessment, that or they're just exhausted from being on the field literally all the time. So, does this mean Dave is not an idiot? Because a 1 is, no way, Dave, you idiot, to... I think you're right, Dave, you idiot. Does right down the middle just mean Dave, you might be onto something?
Yeah.
Dave, you're smart and we love you and you make great pierogies?
That I don't know. He might have to answer that one for us, but I have a hard time believing that they're mad that they would act this way over the release of a player. If a group of players actually did that, I would hope they would all be cast aside, quite frankly, no matter how good they may be. I think it's more just they're worn out from being on the field so much all year, being overexposed. I think some guys like Mike Edem are maybe showing their age a little bit.
Yes.
And, football age, not necessarily age, but you know what I mean? And it's just a combination of all kinds of things, and it's just they've gotten worn down and beat down all year because they haven't really had the support. And if there's, any sort of revolt by the defense, it might be more so the lack of support from the rest of the team more so than the fact that Garrett Marino's no longer on the team.
Right. And again, I think, as you mentioned, their depth has been exposed a little bit, especially with Lanier, faking it, if you will, or being injured. I don't think Lanier is faking it. I think Lanier is... I don't think football players or most athletes really have it in them to fake it to be out this long. Well, and even at that, Lanier, going back to, my nephew's football camp, he's a big community guy. To me, a guy like that is the kind of guy you want to keep around the organization. So that he's not faking it. I don't think he's turned his back on it. You're not gonna be injured or be faking an injury and then drive up to Saskatoon to randomly, coach a bunch of kids in a park, which he did as well too, not just the football camp. He's been part of some of these pop-up coaching clinics the Riders have been putting on. Great initiative too, by the way, Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. Well done. He's been part of that, so I don't think there's any ill will, or a guy like that definitely wouldn't be doing things like that.
Hmm. And because we like him, Dave, as a follow-up, what is John's signature finishing move in the bedroom, and why is it called Battery Run?
Okay, so this goes back to the last Ask John anything, in which I sent a photo to my fantasy football group chat and had an entire giant bucket of dead batteries in it, and since then that has been a running joke that they're used by my wife. So, you know what? I don't know what the battery run would do as a finishing move, because whenever you say finishing move, I think Mortal Kombat. I don't necessarily think sexy time. I don't think you can do the American Pie, read the alphabet and read out of a book and make sparks happen, if you will. But I'm going to now have that in my head next time things happen in that way. So thanks, Dave. Love you for that.
Just have the batteries ready.
I will have the batteries ready, and as I approach the vinegar strokes, I'll be thinking of Dave's batteries.
That's what he always dreamed of, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
The real question is, does Indy give a fuck?
Well, that's the funny thing. Is although I've met Dave in person, I still, whenever we talk about Dave, and again, Dave, we love you. We really do, wholeheartedly. Whenever we talk about Dave, I just think of Indy, his dog, which is on Twitter, and I just think of him.
Indy appears more in his feed than himself. So.
Well, that's it, and I just think that it's Indy saying these things. So I feel like the dog approves. One of the top 10 dogs on Twitter.
All right, so of course from where we said one question was coming from Dave, another as usual coming from Jacques Cartier.
Yes.
Is Justin Dunk an Android?
I believe.
And a
so,
follow-up from Tony: what model Android is Justin Dunk 12 at JDunk12?
Okay, so you have the smooth like butter voice, the exceptional talent to play football at a high level, the random ability to just show up in Saskatchewan and completely destroy everybody in a tennis tournament. Dunk is basically Data from Star Trek. Emotionless, but he wants to be more human. But yet very good at many things. Like, if you actually watch Star Trek The Next Gen, Data kind of is the glue that holds that ship together until there's this whole assimilation thing when he gets emotional. So, yes, Dunk is far too perfect to be human, must be an android, and a sexy one at that.
Just a news-breaking, tennis-winning android.
Right? Like the
football game calling. Yep.
The proof that he's an android. Remember the draft that, like, TSN got really pissy at him because he leaked every single pick.
Yeah, and I love that. I think it was the next year they just put him on the web stream so it wouldn't happen.
Figured it out. But I feel like the only way he could have done that is by using his android powers to tap into everybody's phones and know everything that was going on. Dunk is basically the Santa Claus of the Canadian football world. He sees you when you're sleeping. He's know when you're getting drafted. That's kind of terrifying, but that's Dunk.
So you mean, because he's constantly on his phone, what we're saying is the phone is actually him. His human form is just an extension of the phone to make him appear human. And his phone has taken a mind of its own, and it's just grabbing more and more news and information.
Huh. And somehow being more and more talented at more and more things as it learns to adapt. But will it ever learn how to love? Vodka's kicking in now.
Apparently, yeah. Luckily this isn't going to be a super long one. Sometimes you just got to be short and sweet to the point.
That's fair.
Like
That's
battery
fair.
run.
Well, okay, you'd think the batteries are being used a lot, so it's a sign for longevity.
Mm-hmm. What are the odds, do you think, that Bo Levi Mitchell signs in Saskatchewan in the offseason just to DUrant them? That's, of course, if anyone doesn't remember, this was after DUrant got traded to Montreal, then was a free agent. The next year, he signed with the Bombers, took the bonus money,
$35,000,
and then retired in one of the pure gangster player CFL moves in history, quite frankly.
Like,
people can be mad at him for it. I get maybe why some Bomber fans are mad at him for it. But for how often other things happen to players, I'm just like, good for you, DUrant. Well done. Way to play the system.
How on earth was he not, like, in the Plaza of Honor the next day? Like,
that might be another episode.
Plaza of Honor ceremony just because that was such a gangster move. I think I've heard it from, and again, because we're becoming more credible this year, multiple sources that pending something really weird, it's going to be a done deal that Bo Levi Mitchell and another member of their offensive line potentially are both already basically dyeing their jerseys green, packing their shit, and looking at Regina real estate. So it sounds like it will happen. Now, with Bo Levi basically being made of hope duct tape and glue these days, I think there's a chance he may not intentionally DUrant them, but it might happen. Like, the guy's been banged up, like, many seasons now. So if he gets here, gets a bunch of bonus money, comes in a training camp, and he realized his arm has essentially fallen off. Couldn't blame the guy, but oh my God, could you imagine his reaction? How funny if Bo Levi Mitchell of all people did that? Because
it would for the takes and for the chaos, it would be incredible. I understand why Rider fans would be mad about it, but the fact remains, if Bo Levi Mitchell came into Saskatchewan and did that after all of the history between the two sides in his career here, that would just be one hell of a way to go out. That's topping DUrant, because I don't think DUrant did it because it was Winnipeg. DUrant did it just because that was the team that was willing to do it.
Right, and the thing is, DUrant had his time in Montreal to kind of remove him from the rivalry. Yeah. We had kind of gone, oh, okay, as Bomber fans, was like, okay, that's good. We can kind of appreciate DUrant for what he is and what he's done. Now he's in Montreal. It's all good. And it was like shaking your fist as the kids run back to Shelbyville with the lemon tree.
And this is probably going to be after DUrant. If DUrant comes back to beat the Riders in the next 2 weeks, that would be one hell of a story. That's going to be after Jake Mayer does not play probably one of the two games between the Stampeders and the Riders, and Bo Levi Mitchell comes on the field to prove that he can still play. And we all know how football players are about having chips on their shoulder, and he's going to throw for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns to prove that he still got it, and then that might still happen.
What was that? What was the longtime backup of it? Matt Flynn.
Matt Flynn. Yeah, he was behind Brett Favre forever. He got a chance in the last game of the year, put up some stupid numbers. Then Seattle gave him big money, and then he lost out, I believe, to Russell Wilson.
He did lose out to Russell Wilson,
which, in retrospect, turned out to be the right call at the time for sure.
Right, but I mean, there's still a chance that I feel like he could, even though he's a veteran, so he gets a bit more pull, I feel like he could still pull a Matt Flynn. You're right. I feel like he's going to play one of these two games against the against the Riders and just be absolutely bananas. Mm-hmm. And he's going to drive his price up a little bit there, but you got to think they're going to have the money to do it. You got to think Duke Williams is coming off the books.
Oh, if we want to talk about anyone who's injured but maybe not so injured, it might be him.
He to me has been on the hockey equivalent or the football equivalent of the old Toronto Maple Leafs Robidas Island.
Yeah, well, I mean, in all frankness, it was Vernon Adams Jr. was doing the same thing. He was on the 6th game in Montreal until he knew he could be traded.
Yeah, well,
I don't blame the guy, quite frankly. So.
Well, and can you blame him? I mean, At least the Duke. Well, the Vernon Adams thing made sense because. Yeah. He could still play, and he's proven that a little bit in BC. I don't think he's been as good as kind of they were hoping, but he's been serviceable for,
he's been better than any other option they have. So,
well, that's absolutely it, right?
He was good enough for them to hang on to potentially and maybe likely host a home playoff game. So,
yes, absolutely. Meanwhile, Duke Williams is just like, hey, you drop half your passes and you're kind of batshit crazy. Can you just go away? That'd be great. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Yeah, that's certainly what that feels like.
It's $300,000 a year to just fuck off and be kind of injured.
Mm-hmm. And to close out this one, I think we had to end on this note.
Yes.
This comes from Ferlin. And I'm really concerned about this one. I even question why I'm asking it. If John traded bodies with Joel for a day, how would he spend that day?
Okay. I have actually a rated G answer to this, which I assure you. You don't have children.
No.
I have 3 children. If I get to pick the day, I am literally picking a Saturday or a Sunday. If I'm in your body, I am just watching football. Legitimately, that is all I would do. I would you would take back your body on the Sunday or Monday, and Jenny would be so pissed at you because you did nothing. You didn't do a chore. You didn't let Mo outside. You didn't take him for a walk. You just sat your ass on the couch and watched football. So,
I mean, that's not really that far off a lot of Saturdays, and not to the same degree Sundays as it used to be, but that's definitely a lot of Saturdays.
Right. But, I would definitely just be
I mean, I do let the dog out. I'm not that immobile.
Well, then too, I know Jenny's always busy with her own stuff, with her own business and stuff on those days. So it's not like you're just being useless. It's you're both you're enjoying and she's busy. So I would 100% take over your body on a Saturday. I would do nothing but watch football. Maybe I would even invite Plaster over just for fun. Greg, because it's fun. I could be like, hey, it's actually Fraser. I'm in Joel's body. And I feel like they would believe it. I would see how good your liver is compared to mine. I would definitely give that a test. Yeah, you would wake up with a crippling hangover as well. But yeah, I'd hang out with your dog. I would watch a lot of football and probably eat a lot of Western pizza because we don't have it here in Saskatoon. So that is my rated G response. I would even close my eyes when I was like you in the shower. I didn't see, your equipment, so it wouldn't, like, after we switch bodies back, I wouldn't know what your dick looked like.
I generally don't shower on Saturdays if I'm not going to work, for being honest. So
see, the problem is, though, I'm like OCD. I need to shower or bathe every day before I go out and see my endearing public. It's just something I have to do. So I would definitely.
But I'm not leaving the house either, so.
I know. Even days I don't leave the house, I need to do it. It's just it's a weird thing of mine. So I would wear swim trunks, or I'd just find a way to not look at your equipment. Right? Because you can, guys see each other with tarps off all the time. That's kind of normal, right? We curl together, seeing each other with tarps off. But that's, you just
in the locker room, not on the ice. To be clear, we're not that gone out on the ice.
I don't know. We will see. We'll see how many beers Pile of Bones can give us for the Saskatoon Men's Field this year, and our liquor sponsor TBD, right? So maybe we'll be tarps off on the ice. But to be kind of wholesome, I would just use the day to eat a lot of pizza, drink a lot of beer, and watch football without having to parent. Or the kids shows are on, and you're watching it on your phone, and you get a kink in your neck because you're just watching it on your phone. And it would also be nice to not worry about fantasy football for one single Sunday.
Yeah, because when you don't do that, you don't think about it, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's true. As I mentioned that, as I pull out to check my 3 teams that I won't discuss on the podcast, though, because that goes against everything that is good.
Brace yourself for something fuel-nominal. Unleaded 88 is the clear fuel choice. It's cheaper, cleaner, and greener. And it's grown by Iowa corn farmers. Now that's totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88.
As a veteran, I live with health impacts from my service. VA healthcare means you're in 100% control of your own medical care, your own benefits, and it only takes minutes to set up. A veteran should enroll in VA healthcare because it ensures that they get quality, high-level care for the rest of their lives. My service was then, my benefits are now.
Get what you earned. Visit choose.va.gov. Not all veterans are eligible for the type or amount of benefits mentioned here.